The Florida Panthers are last in the NHL in puck battle win percentage. Cause for concern? We'll discuss that more next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Thursday, November 6th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So, Florida Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Cats, even though things have been a little up and down where we've seen the tale of two different teams from their play at home versus how they've been playing on the road. And it won't get easier from here as there's 3 games left on the road trip and you got some excitement in San Jose. You still got a roster filled with veterans tonight in the LA Kings and also a Stanley Cup favorite in the Western Conference in the Vegas Golden Knights. So it's not going to get easier, but you got to embrace these type of challenges because of the fact that it's going to bring a little bit of clarity to the group for this team, and that's what really truly excites me. And it's another late night with the Cats. Today we are going to discuss the puck battle percentage for the Florida Panthers and them ranking last and our level of concern. We're also going to discuss the fact that the Florida Panthers are in maintenance mode, but when the maintenance is done, will it actually perform up to the standard that we are used to seeing? And then we are going to preview tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the Los Angeles Kings from the City of Angels Crypto.com arena, where the action will be happening tonight. So the other day, just 2 days ago, actually, this was a stat that was brought out by StatMuse of the Florida Panthers puck battle win percentage for them. And the Florida Panthers are last in the NHL at 44% compared to the rest of the NHL. And thanks to StatMuse for pointing that stat out for the Florida Panthers. And when you think of the higher danger chances against, especially when you think of how the Florida Panthers performed against the Anaheim Ducks, where it was a lot of clean breakouts, poor pinches for the Panthers. And the Panthers as a team, they are, and you know what, they are a live by the pinch and die by the pinch kind of team whenever it comes to pucks trickling towards the blue line and then trying to keep the puck in the zone. And sometimes you'll need the off puck defenseman on the weak side to play towards the middle more to not allow those stretch passes or even protect down the middle while the other defenseman is recovering it to try to take those odd man rush 2-on-1s, 3-on-2 type of opportunities away from them, and to make life on the goaltender a lot easier. So that and also when it comes to battling along the boards and against the opposition's forecheck as well. And at home, the Panthers have been outstanding with it. I mean, we recently discussed the 17 shots on goal in regulation for the Panthers throughout the homestand. But again, on the road, where it's the Panthers really do need to desperately bank points, and the fact that they don't have the matchups, it's really catching up to them. And you're really seeing that the depth issues for the Panthers are truly there when it comes to how the Panthers bottom 6 is, and also the fact that the players that you are expecting to step up aren't really doing so. And yeah, we've harped on Sam Bennett more than I could count, but still, it just goes to show in the goal differential throughout the in the splits between home and road are vastly different. I mean, I'm just going to read these aloud to you guys. At home, the Panthers are outscoring by +2, -2 in the second period. It's also -3 in the second period on the road. But then the Panthers are able to put the knockout punch at home as they are currently a +7 right now. I mean, a lot of the just like how certain empty net goals on the road against Philadelphia and Detroit can skew things in one direction for the Panthers on the road. The Panthers also, you have to keep that same energy whenever they're at home. And in example, the game against the Ottawa Senators, the third game of the season, where the Panthers just blew it open for them. But but the Panthers have statistically on the road, they've been getting worse as the games have gone on. -1 in period 1, -3 in period 2, and then -10 in period number 3, and then having to chase the game. And more importantly, the Panthers are not going into road periods with a lead. Only twice in their more than handful of games have they been able to go into the into the opponent's building and go with a lead. The Panthers are they've trailed twice, and they've been tied 3 times. More often than not, they've been tied at the end of 40 minutes versus the other stats of being of trailing or leading. So the Panthers, the thing is, they've been in the position to at least take over and get that next goal. And it's frustrating once again how on Tuesday night in Anaheim, how the Panthers have had an opportunity with the power play late in the second period, and then that 5-minute major, which only less than 2 minutes of that was actually a major for the Panthers there after that check to the head from Leo Carlson on Evan Rodriguez, which thankfully he was okay. He returned to the game for the Panthers there. But the Panthers are also in the bottom third of PDO, which PDO is an addition of save percentage versus shooting percentage, and yeah, the Pittsburgh game especially is one that skews the PDO in the wrong direction for the Panthers, as the Penguins were able to score on less quantity of shots there. But it really comes down to, and you see it, and for the Panthers, when it comes to the statistic of being last in puck battle win percentage, you see it in the players for the Panthers who are up there in the PIM differential, and also players who haven't put themselves in a position to get the Panthers in a on the man advantage. Aaron Ekblad hasn't drawn a penalty this year. Jeff Petrie hasn't, and they're at a +6 when it comes to PIM differential. If you're on the plus side of PIM differential, not great. But you see the guys of the likes of a Gustav Forsling who are on the minus side, more penalties drawn than taken. Etu Luostarinen and AJ Greer are actually the guys who are leading the Panthers in penalties drawn, and those are the guys who are winning the puck battles. When you see it on the minus side, that's also a product of being behind, extending your sticks, either with tripping or hooking or holding calls. The Panthers are just not positionally there whenever it comes to dumping the puck in, but it also whenever they're dumping the puck in the ozone, and you see that the defenseman for whoever they're playing, they get the puck ready. The Panthers are going in on the forecheck. Yeah, there's a little bit of separation, but also with some of the angles that the Panthers are taking whenever it comes to going to either the near side or far side corners, the defensemen are already ahead in the play. And yeah, that counts as a puck battle whenever the Panthers are going for the forecheck and the puck is already on their stick, and even there's a little bit of separation of it. The defensemen for the other teams are also because they're a little bit ahead, even if it's a 5-6 feet of separation, they are able to go north south more than the Panthers are able to, and that's how they're able to get those cleaner breakouts than instead of the Panthers being able to keep it in the offensive zone. And the thing is, yeah, we talk about the Panthers and their play style, about how it's not one that could be maintained for 82 games. But my concern is that they'll end up with being kind of like what the Tampa Bay Lightning have been in the last 3 years, where losing the second round, and then be a first round exit in the last 2 seasons against the two-time defending champions in the Florida Panthers, where the mileage and the age are starting to truly catch up to them. And there's also that balance about the conserving energy versus going balls to the wall throughout every single game this season, which can that can it keep up for the Florida Panthers whenever it's these non-measuring stick games? I don't consider the matchup tonight against the LA Kings as the true measuring stick games, as the Kings have failed to get out of the first round in the last 4 seasons, which all of them have come against the Edmonton Oilers. But still, you wonder if this if the Panthers going extremely aggressive in every single game, which in a season where they have to claw it out, will that eventually catch up to the Panthers here, if they do in fact make the playoffs? Because it's not a guarantee; they still have to earn their spots, and that's a real, once again, a product of the bill being due, guys getting older, inserting a lot of new guys, and trying to fit in from what the Panthers have done in the past and trying to replace it. And it goes to show once again that you just can't replace the guys that they are missing. But the Florida Panthers are right now in maintenance mode for the team. But can when the maintenance is done, can it play to the standard that we are used to seeing? We're going to discuss all that and more next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the NBA season is here. And there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you could even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up to play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Segment number 2 here on this Thursday, November 6th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Thursday. And yeah, the Florida Panthers are currently in maintenance mode. I mean, we definitely have touched a whole bunch of Barkov, Kachuk, Nosek, but man, are we are really truly seeing the loss for the Panthers on how truly important someone like Dmitry Kulikov is to this team. And thankfully, his injury is not a season-long injury for the Panthers. And you got to wonder of how, with the many miles that the Panthers have logged, I mean, 314 games that they played between the 2022-23 season all the way to their second straight Stanley Cup championship. And I mean, yeah, we've even seen some off nights for the Panthers with their full complement of guys in. I mean, we've seen the struggles when it comes to 2 straight seasons in Vancouver that they've gotten shut out. One of the years it was Calgary that shut them out. Another year it was the Seattle Kraken who shut the Panthers out. But we saw how the Panthers analytically have still been on the positive side of the expected goals percentage, which I'm still keeping a little bit of faith that the Panthers will eventually turn it around. But still, the Panthers are going to have to try to grind out some of these games on the road. But we've also seen even recently in the last 5 to 6 years how long playoff runs are. It takes everything out of some players and teams that it's truly hard to maintain that style. I mean, Shea Weber didn't play a single game in the NHL again after the 2021 Stanley Cup final. Carey Price tried coming back. He was part of that 10 burger for the Montreal Canadiens in that final game of the President's Trophy season for the Panthers, where the Panthers didn't really play a lot of their players. Etulis Thornton and Anton Lundell dressed, but they didn't take a single shift. And Alex Pietrangelo, although he won the Stanley Cup, it took him a few years to officially, before the mileage started catching up to him, and say that I can't do this anymore. And even took and it takes a lot whenever you see that there's an international tournament going on in the Four Nations last year, and Alex Pietrangelo is saying, no, I got to think about my career, my life out after hockey. And you got to consider that, because being in the NHL is only a short part of your life, but then there's the rest of your life outside of that. But the best comparison I can make for the Panthers and what they're currently going through is like maintaining a car. And I could kind of compare it to my situation, based on my car. Bought it with 35K miles in 2018, and right now it's just over 180. I do a lot of driving, obviously from long trips to cover games in South Florida, as someone who lives just outside of the Panthers broadcasting region. So I've definitely had my fair share of having to maintain a car and having to do those long drives there. But sometimes that maintenance gets a little bit more expensive as time goes on. And yeah, a car is a depreciating asset, which it's just, I see it as just a means of getting from point A to point B, because cars are liabilities, not assets. But you got to try to maintain it over, but at the same time, you can't expect it to perform at the same level of what it was when it was brand spanking new. And thankfully for the Panthers, in this, they have uh, still a good amount of young talent in Anton Lundell, Mackie Semiskevich. Donovan Zabrango has been a kind of a little bit of a bright spot for the Panthers since being claimed off of waivers, but it's still a very short sample size. So I like what I see so far for him in a Panthers uniform. AJ Greer, you can't listen, he's on pace to have a career year as far as goals, but again, that's coming from your fourth line, and you need to get some more of that production from your top nine in the lineup. Although AJ Greer has from time to time had to go up in the lineup, in the case of just a few games ago when Brad Marchand was out of the lineup due to his friend JP McCollum losing his daughter Selah to cancer. But you can't expect that same production to be the case throughout the entirety of the season. But if the Panthers are able to get that, even better for them. But that fourth line is a checking role type of line, and you're not expected them to get in on the goal scoring, and just have them keep the puck in the zone more often to get your top guys in. I mean, with the minutes distributed the way the Panthers are, one night it's the Lundell, Lusterinen, Marchand line taking the top matchups. Another line, it's another day it's the Evan Rodriguez, Verhaeghe, Reinhart line for them. So again, I'm very pleased with how Paul Maurice has managed the minutes, where it's not overly dominant on for one at 5-on-5, which again, the pace of an 82 game NHL regular season, this is where I believe that the Panthers, if they are to go on a little bit of a run, especially packing some points on the road, that they could at least get through, and also get to the time of season where you need to perform at your best. And the Panthers, it's funny because I hate to make this comparison as well, but it's kind of the early round wins for the Panthers. It's kind of reminded me of a little bit of the Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight. I'm not going to pretend to be a big boxing guy, but let's not forget. I forget the year that match was. I believe 2015, 2016, where you see Conor McGregor going for knockout punches early. Floyd Mayweather is pacing himself and then delivers the TKO in round 10 in that match, which marketed really well. And I feel like a lot of us didn't really get our money's worth, but that's neither here nor there. But the Panthers getting off to a great start, and especially coming clutch in third periods early on, but that hasn't been the case. So it's been, once again, truly Jekyll and Hyde for the Panthers. But the fact that these next games, and I want to thank Kyle Carr of Locked On Anaheim Ducks, for he was looking at the schedule for the Ducks on the amount of top 10 about not top 10, about the amount of playoff teams that the Ducks were going to be facing right before that Thanksgiving benchmark. The Panthers in these next 10 games, which is in a big stretch. I mean, 10 games is just under 12% of your season. This is I know we have to live in the present, and I know this may be I may be a prisoner of the moment in this one when thinking about it, but this right now for the Panthers, when they haven't gone off to the best of starts especially away from Amerant Bank Arena, this stretch is right now possibly could be the turning point of their season one way or the other. 6 of the 10 games that they are going to be playing right before that Thanksgiving mark on November 27th, they're against playoff teams. Although I'm not truly sold on the Washington Capitals as a team to make the playoffs. I was calling it from the beginning of the season that I believe that that's a team that could go from top of the Eastern Conference to out of the postseason for them. That's one of the teams. Vancouver are struggling with their center depth, and again, I'm not truly a believer in this LA Kings team as a team who tried transitioning over from their championship window to rebuilding a little bit and then trying to get back, but then falling out of the first round in the last 4 seasons. They're kind of at a crossroads. The Panthers are currently at a crossroads in the season, but they're not. I don't believe they're at a crossroads as far as the long term when you're zooming back and looking at the macro when it comes to the Panthers. Although I am worried that when it comes to the latter part of the season, that the Panthers won't have the energy to keep up with the rest of the league. Uh, um, when the time is when the time does come, but maybe it'll change my mind because based on these next 10 games for the Panthers here. So we will see how that goes for them. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to preview tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the Los Angeles Kings from Crypto.com arena, as the Florida Panthers are trying to break a long losing streak against the Kings. We'll discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Rougiette. And let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it get started. Just connect with a board certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. It prescribes your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private. It's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonhl to get 15% off of your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonhl. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONHL so they know that we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Third and final segment here on this Thursday, November 6th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And the Florida Panthers taking on the LA Kings, a nationally televised game on ESPN Plus. It's an exclusive broadcast on ESPN Plus. John Kelly and Cassie Campbell Pascal will be on the call. And the Panthers, they practiced yesterday, but they won't have a morning skate today prior to their game. And the lineup is expected to be the exact same as what they had in Anaheim. And nobody took the option yesterday for the Panthers. And interesting to see how they structured this with the practice on the off day on the road versus not having morning skate. Usually the Panthers do the opposite, but sometimes mixing things up might be best for the teams. And again, I'm very convinced that with the continuity of the Panthers, we've spoken about the injuries multiple times, but there's only so much of the practice that the Panthers would be that when it comes to learning the systems, at least for the veterans, there's only so much practice. They've been through all the different types of adversities before. So there's only so much that getting on the ice could do for this group. And you're risking a bit of burnout for this group if you are to do a practice and then a morning skate. So listen, if it's for mixing, if you're able to mix things up and that puts a different feel to the group, I'm for it. And you know what? and this gave an opportunity for the Panthers to have some team bonding opportunities last night, which maybe it's attending the Lakers Spurs game last night. Maybe it's a little dinner on the beach. I don't know. There hasn't been. I don't know necessarily what they're doing. And also, George Richards of Florida Hockey Now said that their hotel is not near the arena, so it's a little bit away. So maybe that's also why they decided not to do a morning skate today, which usually, if you're the away team, you're usually doing it at 11:30 local time. So that would have been 2:30 p.m. Today. So you guys know ahead of time that they won't be hitting the ice, and Paul Maurice will probably speak to the media maybe around like 7 p.m. Today Eastern time. So we will see there. But this is extreme. This game, big swing for the Florida Panthers. Although, yeah, it's a Western Conference opponent, but an opportunity to get right for the Panthers. And I do have a highlighted stat here on my notes about the Panthers' shot suppression. Number 2 in shots against through as far as the cumulative home and road. But when it comes to the road specifically, when you actually put the splits there, they're 15th in the NHL. And so that is a little bit of a concern whenever you don't have the last change and the opposition is starting to match up better against the Panthers, and that's where you're really truly starting to see it exposed for the team. But LA, they recently just got their first home win just on Tuesday night against the Winnipeg Jets in a shutout effort, by the way, which the Kings were hard to figure out and a hard team to beat last year at home. That's how they were able to get home ice advantage against the Edmonton Oilers and even go up 2-0, which that was a series and one that a lot of people thought, if this isn't the year that they officially beat the Edmonton Oilers, then where is this team? And it really showed how far away they actually were, and this was another team that in the Western Conference that I was truly seeing as a regression candidate. They made a coaching change early last season from Todd McClellan to Jim Hiller, a GM change from Rob Blake to Ken Holland, who's been around for a long time. Dynasty Red Wings teams, tried to build the Edmonton Oilers back into a Stanley Cup contender, which he retired for a year, and then he's back. And you see kind of the familiar faces that he's brought to his team in the example of a Corey Perry, who 15 years ago, would you have thought that Corey Perry, Stanley Cup champion with the Anaheim Ducks, would have been playing for the LA Kings? And also he played in game number 1400 the other day against the Winnipeg Jets, which, funny enough, if you go on X and you see the graphic that they put for game number 1400, one of the photos that they had of Corey Perry was when he was in Dallas, and that is a frame, a picture that is very familiar from when he got the game misconduct and he was walking off the ice from their Winter Classic game at the Cotton Bowl, which Dallas is also going to host another outdoor game because it's in Jerry World, home of the Dallas Cowboys. So they're going to host another outdoor game, and opponent to be determined, which if it's not the Colorado Avalanche, what is the NHL doing? That's just my opinion on that. But for this roster build, it's just for where the LA Kings are at, with Anze Kopitar announcing that he's going to retire after this year, and with Drew Doughty having 1 year left on his contract with an $11 million AAV. They're at a little bit of a crossroads trying to put a bandage on a cut that is open for them. That's just the way that I see the LA Kings right now, as a team that's transitioned from contending year after year to rebuilding for a few years, getting a few top 10 picks, in the example of Quentin Byfield just a few years ago in the COVID draft, and then Brant Clark recently, which Brant Clark has just been, he hasn't been necessarily in favor with the previous coaching staff with Todd McClellan. He was a constant scratch, although he did play 78 games last season, but we saw consistent scratches a few years ago, which more of an offensive defenseman and a guy who's struggled on the defensive end maybe wasn't a fit. And he hasn't missed a game this season for the LA Kings, but that's one of those players that the management is trying to bank on as far as this next transition. And also they got to figure out what they're going to do with Adrian Kempe. When you look at the contracts of Kaprizov, Mikko Rantanen, and then recently Marty Necas. Now we're seeing that Adrian Kempe will probably command maybe somewhere around $11 million, but with with the salary cap rising, that's going to be a lower percentage. So that's going to be viewed as somewhere around 8-9 million from just 5 years ago, as far as a percentage of the cap for the LA Kings. And also that's one player that you build around. You build around Quinton Byfield, although there's still questions of whether he could take that top line center role once Kopitar is officially out of the league, which he put Slovenian hockey on the map, one of two Slovenian hockey players to ever make it to the NHL. We see a highlight reel goal from Quinton Byfield at least once a year, where he's an outstanding skater, great handler of the puck, can shoot from different parts of the ice, but can he officially take over a game? And that's something that we have yet to see. But then you see, with this roster build for the LA Kings, you see guys who have experience in deep playoff runs, in Cody Ceci, Brian Dumoulin, Joel Edmondson, but that those are some of the moves that have been heavily criticized for Ken Holland just this offseason with Ceci and Dumoulin. Joel Edmondson was on the team last year, but expected goals percentage for the Ceci Dumoulin pair is under 50%, and Jim Hiller has tried switching the pairs here and there, but even they have given up a good amount of the high quality chances against. They're middle of the pack as far as shots against, but even then, they're just like the Florida Panthers. They're having a hard time finishing. Top 6 in shots for per game, but goals for, they're still towards the bottom at 22, at 2.79 goals per game. Power play is still a struggle for them, just like the Florida Panthers. They struggle on the PK, just like the Florida Panthers. So this is one where one of these teams are trying to find their confidence again. And with the Panthers only having one win on the road, the LA Kings only having one win at home, something's got to give in a matchup like this. And Darcy Kemper, listen, we've crapped on him for being, although he's a Stanley Cup champion, we've crapped on him for that Colorado Avalanche team basically outscoring their problems and not having to rely on their goaltending. Yeah, he has a lot. He still, once again, has a lot to prove. And they've tried different types of experiments. For the example of Pierre-Luc Dubois, trading him from Columbus to LA, and then retracting that mistake, trading him to Washington. He's thrived there. So that it's also some of those misses for the LA Kings, and that was under previous management in Rob Blake there for the LA Kings. But we spoke about the other day about the Anaheim Ducks being an extremely great disciplined bunch, which the Panthers are also up there as far as the cumulative, not so much on on Tuesday night, but throughout the entirety of the season, they have been on the better side of that PIM differential. But for the LA Kings, they are second worst in the NHL, right behind the New Jersey Devils. And it's funny because the New Jersey Devils are tops in the Metropolitan Division. I once again think that they are a true force that could really truly take that next step in their division and possibly be an Eastern Conference final contender. But it doesn't necessarily always mean that just because you take a lot of penalties means that you are necessarily in a bad spot. I mean, the Panthers just 3 years ago in 2023, they were the leaders in PIM differential on. So, and they still found a way to at least improve that penalty kill towards the end of the season and squeeze in to the playoffs. But that was also a reason why they fell behind in the first place. But the positives of the Panthers being on the discipline side, and as well as their analytics being over at least 50%, 52% expected goal share, which the Kings find themselves well, 53%, excuse me. I'm looking at the stat again. 53.8 for the Panthers, while the LA Kings are around a 52%. So there's a lot of similarities when it comes to the chances and high danger, but the lack of finishing is the problem for the both teams as they find themselves in this position where once again, something's got to give for one of these teams, and we hope that for the Panthers, it's the start of hopefully a run to finish off the road trip on a better note than how it started, because very discouraged. And yeah, I, some of the people who might work for the team might put a positive spin to it as far as the Panthers and how they performed against the Anaheim Ducks, saying how it was a very close hockey game. But once again, I really don't think that, even though the Panthers were down 4-3, I really truly didn't believe that it was truly that close. The analytics say that it was close, but eye test said something completely different. And I hope that the Panthers are I hope that they're pissed and that they come into a game like this and they really truly assert their dominance against this LA Kings team. But again, like we spoke about in segment number 2, how much can it maintain throughout the season? How much can you go all in when it comes to this hard, aggressive forechecking style that the Panthers implement, which they weren't able to do on Tuesday night? But that's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Come back tomorrow as we will recap Thursday night's game between the Florida Panthers and the Los Angeles Kings. It's another late night. Get your coffee ready. And if you can't stay up for this one, make sure to come back to this podcast so that you will get a full breakdown, as we will be staying up for this one and giving you a breakdown of this and more on tomorrow's edition. So thank you as always for catching the show. And in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez, signing off. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.